Now we're going to talk about major scale forms. Now, there's a formula that you need to memorize in order to create any major scale. You simply follow this formula. Whole step, half step, whole, 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 half. So 2 wholes and a half, 3 wholes and a half, and that's W-H-O-L-E. What that means is whole steps and half steps. And what that means is I can start on any note on the entire fretboard, let's say G, and if I follow that simple formula, I'll have a major scale. Now, if I go from G, a whole step would be from G all the way up to A, okay? Because remember, a half step is from one fret to the next. So skip one fret, G to A, that's a whole step. Now remember the formula, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So once I have that formula memorized, I can make any major scale. Let me play that for you one more time, and you can just listen this time and see if you can spot the whole and half steps. So that's my G major scale. Now, I can also play that same G major scale, take those same notes, instead of just going up one string, I can apply it to 3 different strings, and it sounds like this. Okay, so there's my G major scale on those strings. Now I'm only playing that in 1 octave, meaning I'm only going from 1 G to this G. So that's a G major scale in 1 octave. Now if I wanted to play it in 2 octaves, I would play it like this. Remember, that's the first octave, and I'm going to go to the second. Okay, now I'm going to come back down. Now I can take that same pattern and move it to any place on the fretboard and have the major scale for that particular key. So I'm starting on G. How about if we move up to A? The formula still works the same. That's the A major scale in 1 octave, and now I'll play it in 2. Okay, how about if we move it to, let's say, how about A sharp? So we were on, well, let's not do A sharp because that's kind of an irregular key. How about move it to C? So there's my C major scale in 1 octave, now I'll play it in 2. Okay, so the point is you can make up any major scale by just following that simple formula. Now, one thing that you'll pick up on is that solo guitarists will use the scales in multiple positions. So it's the same notes, but they're in different positions. So let's take, for example, our A major scale. I can also play that scale this way. Did you see the difference? Here's one option. But I can also play it this way. That's called the 3-note per string system, where I basically have 3 notes per string. Okay, that's the first 3 notes. There's the next 3. And actually, I don't go all the way up, but now you'll see this is basically called your first position of the A major scale. But I can take that all the way up, and it sounds like this. Okay, so that would be my first position in A major. Now, if I go right up the scale, here was A, remember? And if I go up to B, I can start on B as well. And I'll show you why this is so important to know all the positions in just 1 second. So we've learned the first position. Now I'm moving up the scale from A to B, and this time I'm going to start on B. And I'm going to play the notes in the A major scale starting on B, which is going to be my second position. Now, the thing you have to, so that was your second position in A major. Now the thing you have to remember is, it may sound a little strange to your ear because you're actually not starting on the root of the scale every time. What that means is the root in the key of A is A. The root in the key of E is E. The root in the key of G flat is G flat. But as we're moving different positions, we're starting on different notes of the A major scale. So notice that when I started here, that's a very recognizable major scale. But when I start on B, B isn't the root of A. So it's going, the first three notes sound a little different. Okay, that sounds minor, doesn't it? That's because I'm starting on B, I'm moving to C sharp and going to D. So as you're learning these different positions, you have to keep in mind that you're not just playing, you're not always starting on the root, you're not always starting on A. Sometimes you're starting on different notes. So it can sound a little different to you. Now, the reason that it's so important to know all the different positions, and we've learned the first and the second position of the A major scale. The reason it's critical to know them all is because you can solo, and if you're in the key of A major, you can solo in any of those different positions. So if you're going to become a lead guitarist, if you're going to really, if you're going to become even a rhythm guitarist like in jazz, or where you're going to be playing a harmony in the background, where someone else is going to be soloing like a different instrument, you still have to know these different positions because you'll know where your hand needs to move on the fretboard in order to play the proper accompaniment, or to know which notes on the fretboard fit into that scale. Because remember, there's only 7 possibilities: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Okay, and they're sharp or flat equivalents. Okay, now we've learned the first position A, we've learned the second position A, now we're going to learn the third position in A. So I'm starting on, remember I started on A, we went up to B, that was my second position. Now I'm moving to C sharp. Okay, starting here for third position A major scale. Now you're going to have, so that was third position. Now you're going to have all of these positions for you written in tab. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and move on up to the fourth position. And remember, we're still in A. So fourth position, A major scale. What note do we start on? The fourth, which, let's count up. A is 1, B is 2, C sharp is 3, then D is 4. Okay, so we're going to be starting on D. Okay, here we go. Fourth position, A major scale. Now let's do the fifth position, A major scale. Now we have to start on the fifth, so let's count up. A, B, C sharp, D, E is the fifth, okay? Because that's the fifth note in the A major scale. So here's my fifth position, A major. Okay, there's my fifth position. Now let's move on to sixth position. So let's count up. 1 is A, 2 is B, 3 is C sharp, 4 is D, 5 is E, 6 is F sharp. So my sixth position is going to start on F sharp. And it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to play up in this area of the fretboard, which you can. But I'm going to move it back down to the 2nd fret. Instead of starting on the 14th fret, I'm going to start on the 2nd. And the reason is they're the same notes. The notes on the 2nd fret are the same as the ones played on the 14th fret. So my 6th position can start, as long as it starts on the 6th of A, which in this case is F sharp, then I can start on any F sharp I want. And so I'm going to choose to start on the F sharp down here because it's going to be easier for me to play. So 6th position, A major. Okay, so there's my 6th position. Now I need the 7th position. So I just go to the 7th and A, count up, A, B, C, sharp, D, E, F sharp, okay, that's 6, G sharp, okay, that tells me what the 7th is, so all I gotta do is find G sharp. Where's G? There's G, so I'll raise it a half step to get my G sharp, and that's gonna be my 7th, so I can build my 7th position of the A major scale on G sharp. Here we go. And then if I go from the 7th up to the 8th, I'm back at A again. I have my root position. Okay, so now, I know that's a lot of theory and it's a lot of notes to memorize, and there are 7 different positions. But here's the key. Now that you know the A major scale and all of its positions, you can transpose the A major to A flat major. You can take it to G, you can take it to D, you can take it to any different key you want, and as long as you follow the pattern of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, you'll always be able to create that key. And then once you memorize those positions, which I've given you the tab to now for the A major scale, you can take it and take those positions and just slide them up and down the keyboard, and you can play in any key there is. So what I want you to do now is I want you to practice the A major scale in all of its different positions. And like I was just going all the way up, what I want you to do is go all the way up and then all the way back down each position. So let me give you an example. If I was in root position in A, this is the way I would want you to practice it with your metronome. Let's take it down to, let's do 120 beats per minute. So here's the way you should practice this. Root position or first position A major. Okay, then you take it up to the 2nd position. And so on and so forth. And you go all the way up and all the way back down. And once you memorize those patterns, I want you to, in A, I want you to take them and move them to any different key that you want. So if, let's say you started in A, move it on up to B, try it out there in those positions, all 7. Move to C, try it out in all 7 positions. Because once you get these memorized, the the major scale and all of its different positions, you're a very short step away from being able to make them natural minor, harmonic minor, melodic minor, and the pentatonic scales. And the foundation of all of that is understanding the major scales. And that's what you know now. So go practice those.